your guide in all things death and burial. Today I am joined by two end-of-life doulas, Bob Parker and Elle. First, could you two please explain exactly what an end-of-life doula does?
Okay, a doula is somebody who is with a dying person in many ways. It can be practical, helping people to make decisions about the end of life, prepare for the end of life, and then emotional support to see them through, and then as necessary helping with after the person has died, helping relatives with loss, bereavement, and managing that. But there are a lot of practical things to sort out when someone is nearing the end of life.
Yeah. I'd probably add that because it is person-centred and not medical, then in actual fact that what the doula role could be can be very small depending on what their needs might be and what area they need support in. It could be at the beginning when they get a diagnosis through to the end, or it can just be a part of that journey. But the key thing is it's person-centred, so whatever the client would want.
And doing whatever is required.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I'm very curious as to what drew you guys to this career.
Should I start with that? I spent a career in social work, including early on. On my qualifying course, I did some work on dying and bereavement, and I'm talking 50 years ago. And I was always interested in the area. I retired quite a few years ago now. I was looking for something to do, so when I moved to Edinburgh, I contacted the local hospice and started working with them, and then decided I wanted to do more. So I contacted End of Life Doula and started to do the training course. And I'm looking to, get involved and help people, both individuals and communities, to understand dying. And to make it much more a part of life, and I think the term we use is demystifying death, so that people aren't frightened of it and they regard it as a normal part of living.
Yeah, and I think probably a similar theme in that I'm drawing to wanting to help and support people at a time when they need it most, and I think this is probably one of the times that a lot of people need support most. Either when they're facing death themselves or when they are facing the death of a loved one.
So you guys offer support to both the dying and the one not dying?
Yeah.
The family.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Family and loved ones.
Yes.
Great. Also, how much control does somebody actually have over their end-of-life decisions?
I think the simple answer to that is as much as possible. And that is what a doula would aim to do, to help people to understand what they need to do, what control they need to have, and to help them to make the right decisions for them. Because we've in society we've come to a position where death is seen as a medical issue, and what we aim to do is recognising the tremendous work that doctors and hospitals and nurses do, is to take it back into the community, so that dying is seen as, I think, as someone said, as a social problem with medical elements rather than a medical issue with social bits.
And I think, I guess not different to what Bob's saying. It's as much as the person would like to have over their end-of-life decision, and it's recognised not everybody wants to make those decisions themselves, possibly not. I'm aware of somebody recently, an elderly woman who was facing her end of life, and she said, I'm ready to go to hospital now. That's me ready. So hers was, she was ready to face the end in hospital, but that's not how it has to be. There's bringing it back into the community, educating people around you and your family so that they know what to expect, so that you maybe feel you've got more control over what you would like to do.
That's great. What are the benefits to having an end-of-life doula?
Well, it really follows on from the previous question. The benefits are that you've got someone who is a guide, really, someone to hold your hand, both physically and metaphorically, and if necessary, spiritually. Everybody's different, and we see every end of life as different and unique. So it's very difficult to say that if we go to meet somebody, such and such will happen. It depends on their needs, because there are some fairly well-known responses that people have when they know that they're dying, when they get whether it's a terminal diagnosis or just age or whatever. We would always try to understand the person, listen to the person is most important, find out about them, find out about what they want, what their concerns are, what their fears are, what they're worried about, how they're approaching the end of life, and then, as I say, act as a guide through the process.
I think that's key. That guiding and that person-centred approach is like probably what would identify what someone's benefits would be, because it could be different for everyone. Give a couple of examples. You could have somebody who's got a terminal diagnosis, who's got family around them, and they need to support their family while they're facing this. Maybe the end-of-life doula can support in a lot of practical elements, being in the home when necessary, allowing other people to get a break from caring, being there to make meals, or it could be anything that they're looking for. In another scenario, it could be that they need a little bit of support to make their way through the massive information that's out there around legalities, etc., like that, like power of attorney, what do we need to put in place, where do I go to do it, through to I would like to stay at home, and what do I need to do that, and can I talk to you about that? And that's probably the big thing that we'll agree, Bob, is that actually having somebody to speak to about these things and be open about it and research it for them or advocate for them is where people feel at loss when they're facing end of life. So
That's really great that you guys do that then and offer that support. Next, I'm wondering if you guys actually handle the corpse at all, or if it is just the living aspect.
Again, anything that's needed. I need to say here that there are different cultures have different approaches to end of life, particularly the handling of the corpse. So in some cultures, it would be expected that a member of the family would lay out the corpse, wash the corpse, and prepare it. I know that in the Jewish faith, the culture, the expectation is that it would be somebody from the synagogue who will do it, volunteers from the synagogue, and the family would not do it and would not be expected to do it. So it's helpful to be aware of the person's culture and what the implications are. Yes, there are particular practical things that one can do, like laying the body so that it's straight. So because obviously everyone will know about rigor mortis. If that sets in, the body can be set at an unfortunate angle, making sure that the mouth is kept closed, and certain practical things like that. But again, it very much depends on the individual, their family and their culture, how you would approach that. But yes, if necessary and appropriate, one would expect to handle a dead body once the person has died.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. In some scenarios, you may be asked to support with the body after it's died. I think, but this is something that is done elsewhere anyway. In the hospices, for instance, people will care for the body after death, and it's not a medical skill. It's a caring skill, and we would be there to help with care of the body after death, but also we're there to educate people who might want to be with the body after death, that if you want to participate in caring for the body after death, you can. There's no reason not to.
That's lovely, great. And how do you become an end-of-life doula? What kind of training or education is required?
So it's unregulated in that it's not like a university qualification, but there is Living Well, Dying Well is the organisation who provide training for end-of-life doulas, which then allows them to register with End of Life Doula UK. They have a foundation course, which is the building block to progressing onto the diploma, but it's also for citizens to attend, for them to understand more about death and dying, and to be able to support their own families, etc. So that's it's called the Crossfields Institute to give the accreditation for it. And that's what End of Life Doula UK would expect that your qualification would come through.
And then when and how does somebody actually book your services?
The most direct way is if somebody contacts End of Life Doula UK, they will arrange for a person in the area to get in touch, and it's all over the whole country. So if somebody, for example, in Edinburgh decided that they wanted a doula, then somebody in Scotland would be contacted. It's important to say that the doula doesn't work on their own. Each of us working with someone would have a mentor who would support the person, help them to talk through any difficult issues and check out what's happening. And obviously, you never know. There may be difficult issues. There may not. Most things are straightforward. But I think the message that we really would want to get across today is that people should think about dying and death, and to emphasise that we're not saying we want people to obsess about death. We want people to, I think, as we would say, have the conversation with family. And we come across so often situations where somebody is terrified of talking to a son or a daughter about the fact they might be dying because they don't want to upset them. And usually, you can never be absolutely sure, but usually people feel so much better when the subject has been discussed. So our message is have the conversation and then get on with having the best life you can while you're still alive.
And I think Bob's highlighted End of Life Doula UK. There's always the option to research. If you've got a doula already in your community, you can contact them direct. But if they are already registered with End of Life Doula UK, they will get in touch with End of Life Doula UK to make sure they've got a mentor. So there's no single route, there's no wrong path, as the case may be. But End of Life Doula UK is that organisation that keeps us all together, shares best practice, etc.
That's great. Thank you for coming and answering my questions. And thank you, everybody else, for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mina.